I now call the special call meeting, July 31st, 2025, of the Board of Commissioners to order. I'll ask Diana if she'll do our roll call, please.
Chairman Morgan,
Here.
Vice Chairman Bailey,
Here.
Commissioner McClendon,
Here.
Commissioner Chance,
Here.
Commissioner Lee,
Here.
Commissioner Fuller,
Here.
Commissioner Hicks.
Here.
I'll ask for a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion passed 7-0.
Okay, we'll move into the business session. I know that y'all have all been talking to your mayors, and I think you've come to a good idea on how we want to do and address the SPLOST. So I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Chance at this point to update us all.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As you stated, you began these original SPLOST negotiations as our chair, and the different commissioners have been involved with different districts, the mayors, and also with the administrative leads in those areas. Coming from the last City of Carrollton meeting that they took up the business of this particular item, one of their concerns and what they sent back to us is that they wanted to ensure that all the municipalities would not have to endure a possible lag in revenue distributions, which was in the original agreement. And without going back into all that and trying to muddy the waters, I think there was a consensus amongst the Board of Commissioners here that we wanted to try to do everything that we could to be amenable to our municipalities. Commissioner Bailey and Commissioner McClendon and myself did meet with the Carrollton City Manager and also with Mayor Kaysen. Before such time, all of the commissioners here on this board were involved with the different municipalities, and essentially the agreement that we went to them with was that we had already calculated that we would like to see some funding and a reduction on the amount that they were going to receive to go toward helping assist us on a countywide project with the new sheriff's jail and the new admin facility. So everyone was amenable with that, that was a much needed project and that they wanted to try to do what that they could to help us. And so we went and met with, presented our plan to Mr. Brooks and to Mayor Kaysen, and they have worked. We've kind of gone back and forth, and we think that we have something that when we send back to the City of Carrollton, hopefully their entire mayor and council will be amenable to the proposal that we have. You have before you an IGA resolution that's got a lot of documentation in it that the county attorneys have assisted us with. I thank Ms. Blackman and Mr. Jackson for their work on this as well, and also want to thank Vice Chairman Bailey, who has been extremely involved in the process as well, along with the chairman. With that, I'm going to read out the motion as a summary of what is in the resolution, and then if the chairman would like to have any discussion after that. So in the IGA, the resolution for SPLOST, number one in the motion would be that we are agreeing to a percentage reduction to the municipalities per the document provided that will allow a total countywide growth of up to 2.5%. with municipal reductions going toward the new sheriff's admin and jail, and after such time that a 2.5% growth rate should be realized, if applicable, the remainder growth excess revenues will revert back to the original formula between the counties and cities based off the agreed upon population allotment. Number two, to be handled in a separate document but to be sent back in one motion, is asking the City of Carrollton to agree to waive the tap and connection fees for the utilities. Number three, to be handled in a separate document but also a part of this original motion, the City of Carrollton asking them to agree to the general development agreement for utility upgrades referenced with a cost estimate that has been provided by Bass and Associates Civil Engineering. Two final points in the motion. In this resolution, the debt annual bond payment will be paid entirely from the county's allotment without any holdup to our cities. And finally, there are no revenue delays in distributions to our municipalities from the onset of collections in the new SPLOST that are reflected in this resolution.
Do you have a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Chairman, I'd just like to say that I really appreciate everybody's hard work on this, and I'm glad we got something we feel like we can get passed and everything.
Thank you, Commissioner Bailey. Well, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion passed 7-0.
Great, I look for a motion and a second to adjourn the special called meeting.
Motion to adjourn special call meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion passed 7-0.
Okay, special call meeting adjourned. We'll now move into our work session. Let me find those. The first thing we have on here is Mission Critical's Partners, the user board, to go over. We hired them several months ago to do an analysis of the 911 center and the CAD, and we now have Mission Critical here to go over their findings.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the board, ladies and gentlemen of the board, for inviting us in to speak and go over what we found in our assessment. Do you have to start that before I can advance
You
it?
should be able to click, and it'll go to the next one. There you go.
Okay. All right, so some time ago, we came into Carroll County to do an assessment, and we're going to talk about that today. I am Troy Sherwin, and just a brief history of how I got here today. I get my experience in public safety from 27 and a half years with the Pennsylvania State Police. The first 13 years of my career, I did regular cop stuff. I worked on the road, I worked undercover, and I was a detective supervisor for about 8 years. And through that experience, when I got the opportunity to go over to our technical division, I did, and I spent the last 13 years of my career working there. And while I was there, I helped roll out a statewide e-citation and e-crash program, and also secure and implement a CAD, mobile, and RMS system for the Pennsylvania State Police. So I left the State Police as a lieutenant after 27 and a half years, like I mentioned, and I went to work for a public safety software vendor that specialized in e-citation and e-crash. And then about 3.5 years ago, I came over to Mission Critical Partners, and I'm there as a subject matter expert for RMS mostly, and also CAD and JMS, and sometimes asset management. And what we do is we travel all over the country helping counties and agencies within the counties to assess their software, but mostly to procure new software and to implement it. So I was here with one of my cohorts, Rick Harrison, who is also a very senior member of the public safety community. He's a fire guy. He offsets my police mentality. Has about 37 years in public safety. He was a fire chief, and he also ran a CAD center, a PSAP. So, and the program manager for this project for MCP is also a retired major from the Pennsylvania State Police, who has about 35 years of experience himself. So I wanted to say before I get started here, every once in a while I make the mistake of trying to talk about work with my wife, and I use about 15 acronyms in the first 3 sentences, and she gets lost, and I see her eyes glaze over, and I'm like, you don't know what I'm talking about, do you? No, can you try to put it in lay terms? So if I say anything today that you don't understand, please let me know, and we'll go back and cover it a little bit better, or I'll try to put it in layman's terms. So the background of the system in Carroll County is it's an interop system for computer-aided dispatch, mobile data system, and your law enforcement records management system. The software was developed by Synergistic Software Incorporated, known as SSI. SSI was acquired in 2019 by i3 Verticals. So you'll see synonymously we'll use i3 Verticals and SSI during this presentation. The county has actually had SSI much longer. It was just acquired by a new company in 2019. The system was designed for multi-agency dispatching, unit management, real-time incident tracking, GIS integrated mapping, and a law enforcement RMS. Since the system go live, performance and lag issues have been reported, and most recently in February 2025, they tried to do an upgrade, and it actually made it worse. So then, that's when we were invited in to assess the system and come here to do this report. So our methodology for the way that we come about doing this report and the presentation is we do structured interviews, we send surveys out to all the stakeholders, we do on-site visits and observe the software in use in the PSAP center and also in the cars and on the computers out in the field. We also had some really good documentation that the county prepared, and I think maybe it was already presented to you folks in the past, that described a lot of the problems, and we saw that it was a really thorough job, and everything that they had on that document we ended up seeing when we were here in person. So the agencies that we did interview were the Carroll County Emergency Communications Center, Carroll County Fire Rescue, University of West Georgia Police Department, West Georgia Ambulance, and then we had a telephone interview with the Carrollton Fire Department, Carrollton Police Department, Fairfield Plantation Fire Department, and Whitesburg Police Department. Also, Bowdoin Police Department, and then we did another telephone interview with Mount Zion PD. We talked to Temple PD, Villa Rica PD, and Carroll County Sheriff's Office. So, like I mentioned, we had surveys that we sent out to each user agency, and they got that back to us, and we used that when we were constructing the document. And then I also mentioned that we had the really good document that was presented to you folks in the past. So some of our findings, based on when we talked to the dispatch center, they were experiencing server issues, there's a lack of redundancy, the way it's set up, and there are daily resets required. There's a history of performance issues, and as I mentioned before, the update in February 2025 actually made things worse. They're experiencing system latency and instability. CAD locks up during high volume, causing a loss of event data. So what they described is that they'll actually be part of the way of entering an incident, and the whole system just locks up. And then when it does come back up, they have to start all over again to enter the incident. There's poor GPS and mapping reliability. There's limited data sharing and reporting. The vendor's support is inadequate at best. And the hardware that they have already, it meets the specifications for what it should take to run the system, but the system still fails. There's connectivity between CAD and the field units out in the field. And there's a risk of performance bottlenecks due to system architecture or hardware. So we traveled around the county, mostly me, and talked to a bunch of the law enforcement that's on the system. The mobile is really slow, the way they described it. Some of the screens can take 30 to 45 seconds. Like when they're trying to look at all the calls that are pending, it takes 30 to 45 seconds just to refresh. So it's just sitting there spinning, like the wheel of death, waiting to come up. If they try to run an operator's license number, the system can crash, and the same thing with license plates, and if they're trying to do an NCIC query. The integration with RMS between mobile and RMS is broken, and the crash reporting system seems to be inoperable. They're also seeing some mapping problems and timestamp inaccuracies. And there's a lack of AVL, and that poses an officer safety risk, because if you can't see the cars, then, go ahead, sir.
All right,
Steve.
tell me again, what is RMS?
RMS is Law Enforcement Records Management System. It's what they do their reports in.
Okay, all right, and AVL?
That's automatic vehicle location.
Okay.
So on the CAD map in the PSAP, they can actually, should be able to see the cars running around if their AVL is working. And then in the cars, in a modern system, on the map in the car, on the mobile system, they should be able to see all the other cars on the map itself, so that they can tell where they're at. That way, if an officer gets in trouble, we need some help, they can find him and go right to him.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, no, that's great. I like the feedback. On the fire side, now this isn't my bailiwick, admittedly, but what was reported is that they're having difficulty in building response deployment. There's data gaps with the image trend fire record system. Reporting to insurance Services Office and the National Fire Protection Association data accuracy issues. What they described is that the manual timestamps and incorrect event sequencing. What they mean by the manual timestamps is that a lot of modern systems, when you leave your station, it basically timestamps the fact that you left and you're en route, and it does that for you automatically. And if they even, on the modern system, they geofence around the incident itself, so that when the fire apparatus rolls into that geofence, it'll actually say that they're on scene. Well, because they don't have that functionality, it depends on somebody actually pushing the en route button or pushing the on scene button. So then that affects the times for reporting to the national systems. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, key takeaways. The SSI system has lost user trust. The confidence in the SSI system is unrecoverable. It was reported by most agencies. There are critical functionality gaps that remain unresolved. SSI verticals and I3 verticals, synonymous, unable to correct issues and maintain the system. Strong support among stakeholders for a new system. When I say they're unable to correct issues and maintain system, and this may be in a future slide, or maybe I covered it briefly, what has been found is that a lot of time they'll ask for a correction, and SSI will correct the issue, and it'll run for a while, and then when they do their next update, it overwrites the fix that they made, and then it breaks it again, and they have to report it again and go through the whole process. And the whole reporting process, what was reported is that it's really hard to get somebody on the phone. It may take hours to get somebody on the phone, and then when they get somebody on the phone, they don't seem to really know what they're doing. And there doesn't seem to even be an escalation process from whoever you get on the phone. It's basically, if they can't deal with it, then they just they say, we'll call you back, and they never do. So those are some of the reports that we got from the field. So our recommendation, we have option 1. It's to renegotiate and upgrade the existing SSI system, address outstanding issues in the renegotiated contract, install a transaction logger to assist troubleshooting, continue to maintain the current SSI system. Now, this will take less time and it'll be less costly, and there won't be any training needed. So then we have option 2, is to stabilize the current system and begin the request for proposal process. So we call that an RFP, request for proposal. So you would work with the vendor to stabilize the existing system the best you can, and then you would work with a consultant or try to do it yourself to construct this RFP to put out for the vendors to bid on. So typically that whole process can take 18 to 24 months, and that's from implementation to system go live. And with option 2, there will be end user training needed because it'll be very well likely could be a different system. So our overall goal is for a future-ready CAD, MDS, which is a mobile data system, environment aligned with public safety needs. So MCP can support both options, but we recommend option 2 based on the stakeholder feedback, SSI's customer service history. They've had plenty of time to fix these issues, and they haven't been able to do it. We aren't confident that SSI could fix the system flaws and maintain them through the next update. That's what I was mentioning earlier. Even if the SSI system was working as designed, it would not meet industry standards. We travel all over the country and see the modern systems, and this system it doesn't meet up. Our experience with other MCP clients and the CAD industry in general, and although option 1 appears like it would be a lighter lift and potentially lower cost, this should not be the sole driver for a public safety software solution where people's lives can be affected. So Gary asked us for a rough order of magnitude. So for option 1, there's just too many variables to estimate the cost, and negotiations with the vendor would be required to determine the cost. However, we believe it would be less than purchasing and implementing a new system. So option 2, don't go into sticker shock. So these are for price proposals we've received in the past for a similar-sized agency to Carroll County. So for the first year cost, for CAD and mobile, the prices could range from a low of about $809,000 to a high of about $2.5 million. For RMS, the prices could range from a low of $408,000 to a high of about $1.1 million. So those first year costs, when we say first year, those would be tied to a milestone payment policy that we would have in the contract. So you wouldn't pay out that whole amount at once. Once they reach the milestone, then they would get payment. So then the out year cost, the 10-year support and maintenance costs for CAD and mobile could be anywhere from 1.3 to 4 million, and for RMS it could be 1.4 to 3.6. Any questions about that?
I got a lot of questions, just on the one slide, or in general, are you done?
Well, we can keep going if you want. We have one more slide, and then we can go to questions. So he also asked for a rough order of magnitude for us, and this is for MCP to support optional phases 2 through 4 of our original contract. So the first part of this estimate is just for CAD and MDS, for the CAD and mobile. This would be pending scope refinement and scope agreement, and all of our work would probably be done virtually, or at least as much as possible. So for phase 2, spec rating and RFP development would be about $46,000. Phase 3 for system procurement process would be about $42,000. And then for contract negotiations, which is optional, would be about $12,500. So we heard rumors that the county agencies might also want to get a new RMS, which makes sense. If we add that to the scope, we would add a 2A and a 2B. So it would be for RMS on-site assessment and for spec rating, also for RMS. So a ROM estimate for phases 2A and 2B would be from $35,000 to $45,000. And that's it. So now we're on to the question slide, sir.
Before we do questions, this is not on a consent agenda. We are not making a decision today. We will not be making a decision on Tuesday. This is a lot. We will get you the slides to have to use, and if we decide to discuss this at the September meeting. So
December
just
sounds more like.
yeah. But I just wanted to give you that, just trying to remind you that this is not a today decision. Before we go any further with this slide, I'd like to bring Matt up because I do want to address the fact that Joel Tysinger, with Tysinger, myself, Felicia, the 911 director, and Matt and I have met numerous times with SSI. So I want to address something in there when they said there's no confidence. We've continuously to work with them. I want you to know the county has been doing our attempt to make them work. And I want Matt to address a few things because anyone listening to this conversation right now might be concerned that 911 is not answering the phone calls or 911 is not processing things on a timely manner. We are,
Right.
But I want him to address what goes on behind the scenes. And then we'll go to the questions with RMS. But
So in the modern era, we have computer-aided CAD. However, if you've ever picked up your cell phone and it failed, what's the next thing you do? You go to a redundant system of messaging. You might go to your email off your computer. In the same world where we work in CAD, if the system fails, we have to have a backup. All of our dispatchers at their table have pen and paper. So let's say they're trying to enter in data they're getting from a person who's calling or from a unit on the radio. If it starts lagging, they're writing notes. Once it stops lagging, they're going back in and adding it. Now, when we talk about the automated vehicle location, those lags can cause a vehicle to look like it's in one spot, and when the lag ends, it might be 2 miles from where it was showing. That's one of those pieces that does scare us a little bit. To that same breath, we had at one point in time a call officer was in a totally different place than where the vehicle was showing. And the vehicle was showing accurate vehicle location data from what it was showing, but he was nowhere near it. And he wouldn't answer his radio. So there was concern, so we had to send officers going both directions looking for him. These are things that kind of make us a little uncomfortable at times when we're looking at stuff. Some of the other pieces that we worry about, as far as on my side, is our ability to pull NCIC data. Unfortunately, last year, GBI changed where they were getting their data, and since that data portal changed, which had happened nationwide, I believe, it's caused us a lot of consternation. The system goes up and goes down. So when an officer's standing on the side of the road with a car they've stopped, and that data is lagging because either the connection to GBI or the connection to our server or something is causing that to hold, they're sitting there with a person that they don't know anything about. They can't have any criminal history pulled on that vehicle or the person standing there or sitting there in the car. We don't know exactly where that hangup is, but if you were to ever listen to the radio, you would hear constantly, GCIC went down. Oh, GCIC's back up. GCIC's down. GCIC's back up. It is a constant thing that keeps going on. We don't know that the CAD swap out will fix that, but our GCIC terminal is also through the same vendor as our CAD. So that is another piece to that puzzle. Our integrations with RMS, when an officer stops a person or wants to find out about somebody and they ask, hey, can you check the local on them? Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So you may have somebody who's not actually got a warrant through the GBI or through FBI, but they may have a local history here that says that they are not going to play nice with an officer. Well, if that doesn't pull up, we don't know that, unless they already know that person. A lot of times they're stopping people and they ask, hey, you got anything on them? And they are familiar enough with them, maybe they've seen them before or dealt with them before, they know it. But it's just another piece of the data point. When we're talking on the fire side, this is a piece that really is a bother to me. The next to last line says reporting ISO data and NFPA data accuracies. When they're reporting times to the Insurance Service Office to get ISO ratings, there's timelines that they have to meet. It's really bad when you pull a single call report and the day they run sheet, and the times for the individual call are not the same. They're pulled from the same database, but they may be 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 2 minutes different. Shouldn't be, but they do that from time to time. We don't know why, and we can't get a straight answer as to why. So those are things that, as far as for the safety of the people on the road, like the John Q. Public who's sitting there calling 911, we've got a lot of things for that. For our officers on the road, for our people in the administrations at fire departments who are trying to make sure they're keeping ISO ratings where they need to be, these are things that the CAD is failing us a little bit here and there, and sometimes it's failing us drastically here and there, and it's pieces we've got to find a solution for. Not to mention, if you've been paying attention to the Gold Dome, Next Gen 911 is coming. I cannot see, in everything I'm seeing, and I've got another meeting tomorrow with the Geospatial Information Office, our CAD system is not going to match up to the Next Gen 911 protocols. It's not going to get us there. So when the state turns it on, when they get it built and turned on, if we're in this CAD and it cannot comply, it cannot meet the standards, we're going to be behind the Next Gen 911 curve. In the Next Gen 911 world, you call me from Douglas County and I get your call because it hit a cell phone tower in our county, and we get your information and we realize that's a call for Douglas County, and we hit transfer. In the Next Gen 911 world, the call goes, the data goes with it. All the questions you already answered, they get the answers for it. Won't happen right now. We share the same system with the University of West Georgia Department of Public Safety. It's supposed to work. It hasn't worked since day one. We can't transfer data along with the call. Even if a vendor, the same vendor having the same CAD, we can't do it. It just doesn't work. So we know there's deficiencies. Deficiencies right now are a nuisance, but down the road are going to be real problems for us. So these are some little pieces to the puzzle for us.
And I think from what I've seen, staff continues to do the best and to even probably overwork to get the information that should easily come to us. So that maybe it's just a stressor on our 911 telecommunicators. So that's the background piece that needs to be explained. So I'll now turn it over to questions, and I'll start with you, Commissioner Chance.
Thank you for being here today, sir. I guess my initial question is, and I'm looking for a short summary. I don't expect you to give me a 10-minute answer because I've got a couple of questions I want to go through quickly. But this particular system that we bought years ago came here, there was a recommendation, and we went with it. And there's a lot of other 911 centers that use the same system as well, so it wasn't like we were their only customer. So in your professional opinion, while some stuff may have not worked since day one, that Mr. Klopfelter just gave the one example, where did things go awry with the company itself? Because if it's as bad as you're telling me, then all of the other counties that we realize have that same system, I would assume they're having the exact same problems as well. So how did this slip through the cracks? And I don't mean pointing fingers that anyone did anything wrong. I'm just saying, was the company working by and large well, and then all of a sudden they had an internal breakdown and didn't upgrade or do things themselves, and it spilled out to everyone else? Or were they just a bad company from the get-go? And here again, it's not about placing blame. I'm just trying to understand how bad it is. How did we get here?
Right. And to my knowledge, what happened with SSI is that it was a small boutique, what they call a boutique company, and they were able to cater to the agencies individually. So it was like you were getting like personal service. Like everybody knew who the guy was from SSI, and he ran everything himself. He took good care of everyone. But then the company was sold to i3 Verticals, which is a much larger company, and I just don't believe that their process for software development is what it should be. I think it's substandard, because there's no reason why if they make fixes one time that should be overwritten by the next update. That's just poor quality software development.
So understand the dynamics of our county and all the users, the different agencies that utilize it, and then some of the rural nature of our community. There's just not a cell phone tower every 20 feet in a community like this. So if we went with another company, through your assessment, do you feel confident that that system could be utilized to its maximum capability? Or are we talking we're going to have upgrades in vehicles with new equipment, or maybe there's a reception issue? It's like anything. You can get a car that's great, but maybe the engine has got a problem, but everything else is great. Or you get another automobile, the engine's wonderful, but it gets terrible gas mileage, whatever. I mean, no one's going to be perfect in all the areas. But this IT stuff gets so complicated because you home in on one thing like the system, but you've got all these other components that have to go with it to maximize it. So in your assessment, do you feel that the new CAD system on day one, it would be running great with a new company, or do you think there's going to be a lot of improvements from physical components that need to happen as well outside of just hiring a new system to run?
I think there may be some physical improvements that need to be made, to your point. What we pin the vendors down in the RFP and the contract is that they have to certify whatever hardware that is in use. So we have them make the suggestion on what the hardware should be, and then once it's installed, they have to certify that software.
Okay. And my final question for today, I'm sure I'll have...
I'm sorry, I meant hardware.
I'm sure I'll have some questions at another day that I can probably contact you. But my final question is, we talk about contracts, and in layman's terms, you can put everything on a sheet of paper, but it's about somebody following through and doing what they say they're going to do. And it's also about someone understanding what's in that contract, and it's also about someone having the capabilities to not only know what's in the contract, but having the tools to enforce them. So my question is, moving forward, if we went with a new CAD system, and all the things that are going to be negotiated that are in that contract, is that something that you feel like in-house, either through training, that we are going to be able to keep up to make sure that they're doing in the system? So for instance, if they're supposed to back up, or they're supposed to say, hey, every year we've got an internal upgrade on our end to make things work faster, well, we may not necessarily know that because we're not in their world. So do we need a company like you every so often to come in that knows what's in that contract and has the tools to go into the system to say, yes, they're actually living by this? Or is that something we could possibly train in-house with staff to look at? And where I'm going with it, the best example I know how to give is if you don't rotate and balance your tires, you may go along and you don't see anything at first, but then all of a sudden when something's cupped on the end of the tire or is wore out, it doesn't matter if you rotated at that point or not, the tire's ruined. So I'm looking for along the way what are we going to do to make sure we don't get in a predicament like this again, that we're not just waiting till something, and I'm not saying they haven't been proactive, this is not a blame game, I'm just saying to make sure that all the contents of the contract are truly being enforced and we know what we should be looking for.
I think what you've suggested is a very good idea. I think that your in-house staff they're going to become experts on the new system, but they also have full-time jobs already. So they're going to be running a PSAP, or they're going to be responding to calls, or they're going to be handling whatever IT jobs that they have within the county. So to have an outside source that can come in and do that for you, it doesn't have to be MCP, it could be some other consultant, whoever it is. I think that's going to be in your best interest, yes.
Thank you for your time.
Any other questions?
Not right now.
We also have Gary Thomas here and Dave Wade and Jacob Parsons. They've all been serving on the user board committee that works with our 911 center. Do any of y'all have any comments? I'm not forcing you to come up, but did anybody have?
Thank you, Chairman. Just briefly, first of all, on behalf of the user board, I want to thank the Board of Commissioners for taking this step, for listening to your public safety agencies and taking this step to have an outside consultant come in and look at the CAD system. I also want to thank our 911 dispatchers. That is an incredibly stressful job when somebody calls them and says, my baby's not breathing. And to add to that, all of a sudden their screen goes blank. Think about the stress you have in your own job when your screen goes blank. And then add to that, somebody's depending on you to help them on the telephone try to save their baby. And those dispatchers have stepped up every time this CAD has failed. And so I would encourage you, when you have the opportunity, if you see a dispatcher, just encourage them. Tell them that you understand that there's a problem there and that you're working on it. It'll go a long way to help them when they have those situations. And I know you care about it. I know each of you, but to say that to them would go a long way in helping them. The user board heard this report, and we had a discussion, and we fully support what's in the report. All of your user agencies were there, so that's all your public safety agencies, both the ones that belong to the county and the ones that belong to the city. And with that, just to make one quick comment, most of those agencies are experiencing problems with their record management systems. That's separate but tied to the CAD, as he described earlier. So much so that the City of Carrollton has already entertained demonstrations from 3 different vendors. They put that process on hold when they found out you were taking this step to take a look at the CAD. It is optimal if you get your RMS together with your CAD. They integrate better, but your better CAD systems will integrate with most any system. And that was a concern from some of your smaller agencies, like the Temple Police Department, the Bowden Police Department, because they might have to stay. If the other agencies change their RMS, they might have to stay. And a new CAD would integrate for those smaller agencies until the time that they could come up and get the new RMS system. And to Commissioner Chance's initial question, SSI was originally a record management system company, and they sold record management systems to all the local law enforcement agencies. They were very affordable, and for that volume, for the amount of volume that those agencies were putting in, it worked rather well. They then moved, which is a natural progression. I believe, Troy, that's pretty natural. It was a natural progression for them to then say, okay, let's get in the CAD business. We feel, and users board members jump up or let me know if I'm misstating here, but I think the user board feels that they don't have the bandwidth, it's not adequate for our 911 center, for the volume that we do. It is a volume issue, and they can't support it. Now, I say that to say the University of West Georgia Police Department is a beta test site for them. They get their upgrades first. Sometimes when they upgrade them, it doesn't work, but before they've figured it out for their beta test sites, we then get the upgrade. And it certainly doesn't work for us. So I hope that gives you a little more background on your question, Commissioner Chance. And I just wanted to kind of let you know from the Users Board kind of what went through our discussion. Thank you again for looking into this. We certainly appreciate it.
Are there any more questions?
No, but I'll just say, I deal with a lot of different systems. I'm Director of Transportation at Carrollton City Schools, so I deal with a lot of systems similar to this to keep up with what's going on. And I would like to say if we decide to go down this road where we look for a new system, cheap is not always the best. And we need a system that's robust and a system that is tested, tried, and true, and by a lot of agencies. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because there are a lot of people that jump into the game, and goes right along what he said, and I've dealt with that myself, where dealing with just a few, they can handle it, and then other people see that, hey, it's a good system, and then they start adding customers because they want to, but they can't keep up with the volume that they're adding. You know what I mean? And so, it would be wise for us when we start looking, if we decide to go down this road, we need to look really hard and make sure we find somebody that can handle high volume and that's been out there a while that can get the job done, because these type of things you don't want to get into a lot. Like, you don't want to go back and do this again, seeing how much something like this would cost. So, I hate to say it, but I don't mind paying a little bit more to know that I got a solid system. You know what I mean? Every system can have issues and stuff like that, but customer service, for one, is huge for me in my world. That's a turnoff for me, and I'll run from you in a minute. We've talked about that many times. Customer service is huge, but then having a robust system that can integrate, and they freely integrate, they don't make it a difficult thing to integrate with, like the smaller municipalities and things like that. But being able that is, like I said, tested and tried, that's robust enough to handle a lot, and has handled that we as commissioners could research and say, hey, this department uses it, this department uses it, and make a phone call and say, how does it work for you? You know what I'm saying? Because this is one of those things you want to get. But I have talked myself, and I've heard some of the complaints and some of the, I asked you one day when we were talking, I was like, I want to know why these sheriff cars are losing connection and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Because that concerns me if a car is out on the road. I can tell you many times when my bus has been out on the road, because I can look on my phone and go right to them, I can just tell you the confidence they got, that somebody's got their back. But the very fact that it may lag, and I don't want it to lag, you know what I mean? I deal with a system that's second, I know it's going to be seconds, before I get that update, and it's updating every second. But in this world, we don't want it lagging at all. We want to know where they are, because we make sure our officers are safe or can get the support that they need when they need it.
Well said, well said. And I totally agree with you. And part of our RFP process is to require the vendors to provide us with 3 references for similar size agencies. So then we suggest that you do contact those agencies and do the references checks, and then also do your own research and try to find somebody that you can go talk to that's outside of the reference, so that you're getting a true assessment of, this isn't somebody that was set up to tell me a good story, this is just somebody that's using the system. So we do ensure both of those. And our RFP process, it's set up in such a way that we do multiple rounds of scoring to narrow down to the final vendor. And that scoring allows you to compare the vendors against each other in an apples-to-apples comparison. So you can see what they scored with our specifications, and then you can see what they scored on the RFP evaluation. You can see what they scored on the use case demonstrations, and then you can compare them side by side. So I think that helps in order to get you the best vendor, best fit for the county.
So again, Commissioners, what we'll do is we'll make sure that you have this presentation to review, and I'll work with the user board and the finance director, and we'll see what kind of funds we can come up to present to you so you can make the best decision on the route you want to go. And so my intention is to do this at the end of August work session, September meeting, because we want to solve this problem sooner than later, but we also don't want to be rushed. So if you need more time, we will make sure that happens.
Okay.
Thank
If that
you,
is all,
Troy.
I just wanted to thank the commissioners again for allowing me to speak today. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, as customary, we don't do a financial recap in June. We wait till the end of the year when all the audit entries have been put in. So we will now move on to the Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday. And we'll skip down to the business session. We have 4 items from Danny Yates, Public Works, mainly for solid waste transfer station, and Ben Skipper, who's also helping, kind of the interim solid waste, is on vacation this week. So Danny, I'm going to turn it all over to you then.
Thank you, Commissioners. And to start with, I want to tell all you Commissioners, thank you for taking my calls and sitting down discussing some of these things we talked about on this. This is a large project. As you can see, it consists of 4 separate items. The first item is the replacement of our solid waste transfer station. As you all remember, back in January during the snow, the roof collapsed, and we've just been kind of doing the best we can out there with no roof right now. We sent out RFPs in June, got them back in July. The scoring committee sat down, started looking at all of them and scoring them. And once everything was said and done for the building itself, the committee recommended going with RKR for the price of $3,473,900.
Mr. Yates, my only question is, we met a couple days ago. Thank you for going over some of the information. We had several bidders. Obviously, the money was not a high priority as far as you wanted to make sure the qualification was there. Money's always a priority.
Yes,
but
sir.
as far as how the percentages rated out, that was a lower end of that. You had 2 or 3 that were right in line. You had some that were anomalies that were all over the board. My only question is, I want to ensure that the committee feels confident that their recommendation, how the scoring landed out, that they don't feel that anything was missed, or they think, based off of the presentations and their interviews and scoring, that there was not anything that would have been misconstrued, that there would not be an expectation, because the last thing we want to get into is any type of change orders and so forth, which this company was not necessarily one of the lower ends on the pricing as well. But that's just kind of a generic question I have for you, hearing a reassurance of that.
Yes, sir. The committee was pleased with RKR, and they will stand behind their recommendation for RKR.
Thank you.
Okay, so are y'all good to put 10.1, replacement of the solid waste transfer station building, to use RKR for a total of $3,473,900, to authorize the chairman to negotiate and execute the contract and take all necessary actions in connections with this project? We good? Steve, we good? Okay, great. So,
I'm down with it.
so item, you're not good?
I'm not with it, but you do
But
it.
you're good with it being on consent, but you're not
No.
for it?
No, I'm not for it, and if you want to do it consent, that's fine. I'd like for the.
Okay. Are we okay with that, or do we
public
need to vote?
I'd like for the public to see who supports it, because it's out of
Okay.
town contractor and not someone in town.
So should we wait till Tuesday to vote on that then?
Yes.
For proper,
It-
okay.
Yeah.
It has to be unanimous. to be
Okay,
consent.
all right, that's no problem, Tommy.
Other
Okay, so
public
this is
see it.
Tuesday. Okay, all right, Danny, 10.2, please.
All right, and this is for a concrete finishing project to go along with this building. The building itself is on its own scope that falls under the building contractor. Everything beyond that scope of work, which is about 80,000 square feet, we are going to have poured in concrete. So we decided to let that bid out for someone to come in and finish the concrete. It is a very large project, something too large the county should not try to handle on its own. And so we sent out RFP for a concrete finisher, and the committee recommended Caliber 1 at $246,525 for the concrete finishing.
Mr. Yates, by separating this out, and you went over some of your reasoning yesterday, but you still feel confident this is the right process, not trying to mix that in the original GC? You think having it
Yes.
separate is more of a benefit
Yes,
to
sir,
the
I do.
county?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, not hearing any further questions. Are you good with putting 10.2 RFP for concrete finisher for the solid waste transfer station to be Caliber 1 for a cost of $246,525? It would be paid from, I don't have my notes on this one.
The
Oh,
2021
Yes,
SPOS,
yes.
sorry. Be paid for the 2021 SPOS and to authorize the chairman to negotiate and execute the contract and take all necessary actions. Are we good with this one on consent?
I am, it's Carroll County,
Okay. Y'all good? Okay, good. Thank you. We'll put 10.2
not Harrelson
on
County.
connection, on consent. Okay, all right, Danny, we got 10.3.
Is I think this is the wheel loader. For this new building, we are kind of upgrading our equipment out at the transfer station. This is quite a bit larger wheel loader than what we use in our current transfer station. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of combine this in with everything so we could go ahead and get it ordered to have it on the way. It is approximately 2 months out anyhow. And so after we done all our RFPs for it, we chose, Mr. Skipper and myself sat down and looked at all these, and we think our best bang for the buck is the Hyundai HL 965 for $275,000. But I would also like to add an additional 3,000-hour warranty with this. The years on the warranty do not concern me. This is a tractor that's going to run 6 days a week, so that we're going to eat up the hours before we eat up the years. And that additional warranty was $9,936.21 for a total of $284,936.21.
Okay, and I want to clarify, it comes with a, it comes with a 3,000-hour warranty.
It comes standard with a 3-year, 3,000 hours.
Okay.
I'll get an additional 3,000 hours.
3,000 to that.
Yes, sir.
We're adding, okay.
So we'll have a total of 6,000?
6,000 hours, yes.
And I know me and you talked, Danny, we stripped the paint off of these things when we looked at them. We're not looking, we're looking at reliability, customer service.
Exactly right.
And ability.
Yes, sir.
In addition to this, did you research as far as parts availability and locations, if you had something?
Yes,
for
sir,
that
I did. Actually, Hyundai has one of the largest parts distributors in Atlanta. The dealer itself is in Dallas.
Aren't these tractors assembled in Georgia?
Yes. Hyundai is assembled in Brunswick, if I'm not mistaken.
And none of these tractor dealers came directly from Carroll County, correct?
No, sir.
Thank you.
We have somebody comparable.
Okay, I'm sorry. Clint, what was your question? I missed it.
My question was, there were so many bidders that I did not recognize any of the equipment that would have come directly from Carroll County, if that was something we wanted to take into consideration.
Right.
So they're all from out of town.
Right, okay. Danny, this is one of those big articulated loaders.
Yes, sir, it is. Yes, sir. It weighs close to 50,000 pounds.
Whew.
Brakes in the middle.
Brakes in the middle, yes, sir. 6-yard bucket on it.
So seeing no more questions, are y'all good putting 10.3, the new wheel loader for the solid waste transfer station to come from National Equipment, the Hyundai HL 965, with the extra $3,000 towards the extra
3,000-hour warranty, yes.
3,000, yeah, warranty, for the extra 3,000 miles. for $284,936.21 to come out of the 2021 SPLOST, and to authorize the chairman to negotiate and execute the contract and take all necessary actions in connection with the project. Good with that on consent?
Yes.
Okay, great. And now we have 10.4, consideration of the site work package.
All right, this here's, I kind of call it the site work package. This is going to encompass everything Carroll County is going to pretty much do on our own. This will include the site grading, all the stormwater piping and structures. As we, as the county, are going to pay for the concrete that we're going to pay our concrete finisher to finish. I just feel like we get a very good price. I did not, I don't want, not against nobody, want people to make money, but I don't want somebody adding a percentage when we can pay for it ourselves. Same way with the rebar. This also includes a new set of truck scales that's going to go along with this new building. All the rock that'll go underneath the concrete for base, fencing around the whole, say around the building, but it's going to encompass the whole area right there where the transfer station is going to be.
Mr. Yates, you and I discussed this when we went over this yesterday or the day before. I have no problem with the not to exceed amount that you've got there and the different items that you're wanting to handle. My only concern would be to include the new truck scales in that general not to exceed number. I feel like that's going to be more of a substantial number that is also going to, compare reliability depending on who the company is or the product, the scales, customer service. There might be the potential for extended warranties and different things. So to me, I would treat that much like a loader or a fleet of cars. I don't mind approving what you're asking for, but I would ask if the Board of Commissioners was in agreement that that particular item would need to either be done through an RFP process or that you would do due diligence in having multiple bids for our presentation to approve that particular agenda item.
Yes, sir, I have no problem with that. The quote I had, that's with Atlanta Scales, that's who our vendor is now out there. I had them to give me a quote, and but yes, sir, I have no problem with that.
So we're basically approving not to exceed up to $800,000 with all those items, with the additional notation that once they get to the truck scales themselves, they either have to do an RFP process or they have to get bids to bring it back, because that's going to be a larger ticket item instead of just saying that Mr. Yates won't do a good job, but we could say that about all of our department heads that have to come before us and we have to approve through a different process, so.
Okay, we're not seeing any more questions. I'm going to ask that item 10.4, consideration of the site work package as presented, not to exceed the $800,000, with the new truck scales and conduits to come back to us for a vote on the final dollar amount, either done by RFP or done by the bid process, 3 bids.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
And then if it's going to come out of 2021 SPLOST, and to authorize the chairman to negotiate and execute the contract and take all necessary actions in connection with the project. So we'll vote on this, and at a later date, we'll come back with the truck scales and have it on a future agenda.
So the $800,000 is going to come from the solid waste fund, right? Not the 21 SPLOST.
Well, some of this is coming.
That's correct. Some of this is coming from solid waste fund.
Was it $1 million? Is that what?
Yes, sir. Right at $1 million. Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's clarify where this is coming from.
We'll just call the site work from the solid waste fund, yeah.
Okay.
That's how it reads on the agenda.
Oh, I'm working off my notes. Diane tried to give me a new page. Okay, so my correction is it'll come from the solid waste funds. So are y'all good with putting on a consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Danny.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm now going to call Lori Blackman, the Human Resource Director, to go over our time and attendance proposal.
Good afternoon, Madam and
Chair and Commissioners. We have for you today a proposal for time and attendance software to be implemented over 2 years across all county departments. Currently, most departments rely on manual timekeeping methods. These processes consume approximately 60 hours every other week across departments. Additionally, more than 600 sheets of paper are generated per pay cycle, adding to the administrative inefficiency. We're proposing a phased implementation of the time and attendance system over 2 years. Year 1 would be the time and attendance, the core module. Year 2 would be the advanced scheduling for sheriff, fire, CI, and E911. We evaluated 3 vendors through a formal quote process: Tyler Technologies, with their product being called ExecuTime, Time Clock Plus, TCP, and UKG, which is owned by Andrews Technology. After thorough evaluation, Tyler Technologies is the only vendor that we believe fully meets our key requirements for automation and seamless integration. Tyler says that time and attendance module will integrate directly with Munis, which is a Tyler Tech product that we currently have for our payroll, eliminating data duplication and errors. So while Tyler's cost is over 2 years is at $97,000, which is approximately 20% higher than the other 2 bids, those alternatives do not meet the integration or functional standards that we outlined. So choosing a lower cost option will require manual workarounds, limiting reporting capabilities, and introduce inefficiencies that undermine the goals of the initiative. Some key questions that came up during our preliminary meetings leading up to this work session, we were asked, can we track the approvals and changes to the time records? Yes, the time system includes full audit trails for every time entry and change, records of who made the change, when they made the change, and what was modified. Also, there's enhanced accountability and audit readiness. Another question that was brought up, have all departments seen and evaluated this system? Yes. Tyler Technologies actually came on site for a 2-hour demonstration with all of our department heads, and as well as the advanced scheduling module, and all the department heads were present, asked detailed questions, and expressed confidence that the software meets their operational needs. And another question that also was brought up consistently was, what will we do with the time saved through automation, and particularly HR? So the time saved allows for our HR staff to focus on recruitment initiatives, training and development programs, as well as employee wellness and engagement efforts. So we're asking for your formal approval to proceed with the selected time and attendance system from Tyler Technologies.
Ms. Blackman, in our discussions that we had a couple of days ago, thank you for meeting with me, you and Mr. Parsons from IT. One of the things that I had discussed was about the 20% higher bid, that if we were already utilizing them, seemed like maybe they would give us a discount. But I think you had discussed that you all have tried to negotiate and maybe had that price down even from maybe what they initially wanted to charge us. But to your point, this particular system will do more things, not just that it will make the integration simpler, but it may have more functions than the other bids that came in. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And you're talking about that you're going to roll out some of maybe the less complicated, more of the office personnel first in the first year, and then the public safety second, which will have, I guess, some different challenges and so forth.
Yes, there will be an advanced scheduling module that will be an add-on with the ExecuTime, time and attendance.
Okay. And just as a point of reference, I did ask Mr. Parsons, as anything that deals with technology, I wanted to make sure we were not getting something that was going to overload our systems or anything we were expected to handle in-house as far as maybe storage. And maybe we don't do storage, but I did ask those questions, and he assured us that by going with this system, it would not place any other infrastructure strains on any of our other IT. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
I just appreciate you meeting with me and answering all the questions that I had.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Thank you for moving this direction. I'm familiar with the system.
Yes.
I've been here a long time ago.
Yes. Thank you.
I think the system was been put in about 2 or 3 years ago, but had no
Yep.
support.
Well, we put
That's
Tyler
what I
in 2
think.
or 3 years ago. We have not gone this.
Our chairman didn't want it or support it. So I'd like this to be a standalone vote also,
Okay.
not a consent agenda.
Okay. All right, if there's no further questions, we'll move to 10.4, the opioid settlement and Purdue resolution.
We'll put that on consent.
10.4 is not, 10.5 is not consent.
No consent.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. We have before you a proposed resolution to join in the settlement with the National Opioid Crisis Litigation. This defendant is the Purdue Pharma defendant and some related parties, and they've reached a tentative settlement. The payout should be $7.4 billion. Of that, the state of Georgia is positioned to recoup $126 million over several years, of which part of that will go to the local governments. That what Carroll County will receive will be determined by the state of Georgia. So if we want to participate in this settlement, then we would have to adopt this resolution and authorize the chairman to sign the necessary documents. And these funds have to be used for addiction treatment, prevention, and recovery for the opioid crisis.
That particular category, does that fall into some of the, I know we have authorized some expenditures on some other opioid monies, I guess as far as advertisement campaigns, either the sheriff's department or billboards or hotlines where people can call to get help. So I guess that particular model that we've been using would fall under these categories that you mentioned?
It should. There will be some direct grant requirements from the state of Georgia that they'll put into place. So
Okay.
those abatement,
I guess I'm just asking the question in general, just wondering, not saying we can't find ways to spend money, but I just didn't know if it was a different model and we were going to have to do different things with each case that comes before us, so.
and there may be some little tweaks to it, but it's generally through the state of Georgia, so it should be similar.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing and hearing no further questions, are y'all good putting this on consent?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Stacy, while you're up there, we'll go ahead and go to 10.7, the mobile tower lease agreement, amendment.
Yes. T-Mobile is currently on the radio tower that the county owns in the southwest part of the county, and they have asked to put a generator at that same site, and they're just for redundancy of their power. And the Matt Cloutfelter has looked at that with their vendor to make sure that won't interfere with the county's operations, and that was determined to be the case. And so there's no objection to this. To have that redundant power for T-Mobile, and they're willing to pay an extra $300 a month once they get that up and running.
Are y'all good with putting this on a consent?
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
10.8, Ben is on vacation, so he will be here to present that to us on Tuesday evening. So as a recap for the meeting on Tuesday, we will have some special presentations. We will have one zoning item. We will have 10.1 will not be on consent. 10.2 will be consent. 10.3 will be consent. 10.4 will be consent. 10.5 will not be on consent, so we'll discuss both 10.1 and 10.5 on Tuesday. 10.6 will be a consent. 10.7 will be consent, and also 10.8 will not be consent. So 10.1, 10.5, and 10.8 will discuss following planning and zoning on Tuesday night. So at this point, I will adjourn the work session, and I will see you on Tuesday evening.